Greetings, programmers. Busted Thumbs back, and we're up to our 10th installment of our Frogger competition. That's 10. That's quite a bit. We've done a lot of work, and we've got quite a lot done in this game, but obviously it's taking us more than an hour or hour and a half to get this all done. Hopefully, though, we're doing it the right way, and you're seeing and learning some things about Scratch that you can use in any sort of game that requires kind of a game loop to get done, kind of an arcadey type game. And I think this is pretty fun. I think we're in a good spot right now. If you recall, when we left off in our last one, the cars were moving across the screen, and our frog, he could get hit by cars and he would detect it. But it gets a little weird at that point. See that? Because he's gone and waited the program out a little bit. What we decided to do is say ouch for a second, but we never turned the fact that he was hit by a car off. We didn't reset anything. And we need to do a bunch of that in order to make this really work correctly. So let's do that. I think there's some things we need to clean up, though. I was thinking about the requirements that we have once we get past the cars and get to the logs. And one of the requirements is that our frog has to travel. When he jumps onto a log and the log's drifting by, the frog's actually going to have to kind of drift with it. And that's going to make it so that our frog isn't always in a column. Like we did here, we kind of kept track of the frog based on what row and column he's supposed to be in, and then we detected where he was inside of his jump based on that column and row and how long it takes to do a jump. And for rows, this works out fine for us because we should always be kind of snapping to a row, but because those logs can drift us left and right, we shouldn't necessarily always be snapping to a column. And I want to take care of that first because when we reset this guy here, it's basically we're going to need to move him back to the column that he should be in and the row that he should be in at the start. And since I don't want to keep track of that in columns anymore, I think what I want to do instead is have his jump start X and his position, his initial position, set to something that makes that is less dependent on columns and is more dependent on actual position on the screen. So for that, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get rid of that whole current column value. And he's right here. I'm just going to go delete this variable, and that you can see that I'm still setting it in here. So Scratch is now in a weird state where it's going to try and set a variable that doesn't really exist. So what I want to do is I don't want to do this anymore. I want him just to start at the center of the screen. So I'm going to go ahead and say that I'm going to set the jump start X for him to be 0. That's the center of the screen. And I'm going to change all of this stuff here, so that we're not doing this kind of complicated calculation anymore. I think one of the ways we can do this instead is to continue to use this particular guy right here for determining where he's going to be up and down. But to track it instead of every time we go in through the loop, but to track it when that jump actually starts. And you remember that when the jump starts is actually here when we press an arrow key. So we're going to need a little more room for this again. I'm going to have to scoot everything down because I'm going to have to use some bigger stuff here. But I'm going to now start making the jump start calculated when the jump actually starts. And I'm going to make it so much easier for the X. This X guy right here, we're just going to say that the jump start X is simply equal to his X position on the screen. And the reason that is because even once he jumps up here onto these logs, he may jump back down into traffic if that's what he wanted to do, jump up into the log and back down. I want to be able to keep track of where he goes in the cars here, and that incorporates how much he's drifted left and right. So jump start X is now there, and we've set it right here, so jump start should always be the correct thing. And jump start Y is and X and Y are always going to be reset after the jump is pressed. The thing we have to do though about this, of course, is that we have to now then duplicate this. Oops. Duplicate that inside of each oh, that's weird. That should be X position. And what did we have that set to before? When we went up, it was 90. Down is negative 90, so we can get rid of that. And these can always be the same, so I can just go ahead and duplicate these. Just get rid of that. Let's get rid of that to begin with. And we do it for this last one here. Get rid of that. Don't need it, and stick it in here. Now I believe that our code should still function the same way as it was before, because it's just going to use those jump start X's and Y's and then just kind of complete the jump as it goes through. I'm just a little worried that we're not updating the column after we jump. So we might not be quite all the way there. Let's go ahead and give this a shot. He is not resetting himself in his Y position. And that's because we're not starting the Y. Okay, so we do have to do the work to put him in his Y position originally. Which means we might as well just not worry about the current row either. Let's go ahead and get rid of that too. We're going to set his Y position, and we're going to have to do that math that we had before, but we'll do that here. Jump start Y. And now we have to do the same math we had done before, and that is to start at 180, subtract off all the columns we have, the height of all the columns, plus a half. So it's really going to be the height of the columns. Well, you know what? First of all, we have to add in the margin. I should have kept this one around. I'm having to redo this. Our top margin, first thing we have to subtract off. Then we have to subtract off a bunch of little guys multiplied by the height of a column, height of a row, row height, times a bunch of things added together. Let's go ahead and move that out of the way for a minute. And the things we're adding together are the number of rows there are. And that is the log row count and the car row count plus 3.5. And the 3 is these 3 here, and the 0.5 is the thing that centers him. See if that puts him in the right spot. Oh, that put him one too many off, and I think that's because I'm not counting from 0 here when I should be. So let's make that times 2.5, and he's back where he should be. Now, the problem we have with him jumping back, like you saw there, here I can show that a little bit bigger. Kind of doing this funny behavior after he jumps where he gets back in. The reason for that is, even though I said I was going to stop using columns and rows, I didn't over here. Oh, and this is, I was also keeping track of which row he was in to determine whether to stop the jump. Because if he's, yeah, so maybe I do need to keep track of the current row. I need to keep track of both. Alright. So let's go ahead and set the current row. Oops. This is the problem when you have too many things dependent on other things. You can't just get rid of them simply. Let's see, so when his current row is going to be the ultimate row. It seems I'm counting 0 at the top. So his current row is equal to basically the number of rows we have. So again, it's this log row count and the car row count. Plus 2 this time. That should make it so when I press down it doesn't do anything. But he's still got that weird behavior. I just need to make sure that when I complete my jump that I set his row to the correct place. And I'm going to have to change the logic for the left and right to not use current column anymore. Okay. So, if I complete my jump, that is going to be check for jump completion. And actually that should be setting the row up properly there. Alright, so I'm not going to worry about that in that case, and I'll figure out what that bug is in a minute. I want to keep track of this column thing. Right here, you notice when we go left and right, I'm determining whether to not do the left or right jump based on the column, and I said I got rid of the column. So we can't do that anymore. Now what I need to do is to say if the X position, in this case, is to the left of something, so we're going to say if the X position is less than, and it'll be negative 240, which is the left hand of my screen, plus, and there's two things to add in here, plus the side margin. Where is side margin? And half the width of a column. Put that in there, too, and the column width. So what does this say? This is saying that if the X position gets to be further to the left than the side margin plus half a column, that means he can't jump anymore. And he shouldn't be moving anymore. And actually, it's really a full column. No, because he's centered in the middle. So yeah, if he's anywhere... Yeah, it's a full column. Yeah, it's a full column. I'm going to get rid of that divided by 2. It might even be more than that, because we don't ever want his X position. We don't ever want his X position to be less than that thing. So it's a column width plus half a column width. So really, it's times. It's column width and a half. That's our condition right there. So if that ever gets to be the case, then we're going to stop the script and we're not going to handle that jumping to the left. So we have to do something similar here. Let's go ahead and get rid of that. In this case, if it's ever... Oh, and I did this. Yeah. If this one should be greater than. This one should be less than. Greater than. Because we're dealing with negative numbers here. And in this case, we're going to talk about the x position again. If the x position ever becomes less than something very similar, only this time we're going to start with 240 and we're going to subtract some numbers. We're going to subtract the side margin. It's right there. And again, we're going to multiply the column width times 1.5. Let's go ahead and check that I did that right. We'll get our game running again. And this is just to check whether when we move left and right. Oh, he's not doing anything at all. That's not good. Maybe I did get my greater than and less than's wrong after all of that. Well, neither one of them works, so that's not good. My x position here should be 0, and 0 is greater than this little bit of stuff that's right here. So this should have happened when I pressed the left arrow key. Set that jump start tick to tick. We change the direction to left. We set the jump start. Oh, that's not right. That's not right. Hold on. This should be the x position. All of these should be the x position. All of these should be the x position. Like that. Let's see if that changes anything. Still not going. Jumpstart Y should be that, and the direction should be correct. But I'm not even changing direction. So here, let's go ahead and make sure jumping direction is set to the right thing. Jumping direction is none. When I click play, it's always none. So this should be true. And the x position is currently 0. Side margin is 10, and column width is 35-ish. So 0 is greater than negative 240 plus that little bit. That's just... Oh, alright. Yeah. So I'm hitting this condition all the time, and that's when I stopped the script. I had confused myself, so I was right the first time around. I do have these backwards. This should go here. I was thinking that this is when the jump was going to happen, but it's not. That's when we stop the script and we don't let the jump happen. Let's go ahead and switch those two back around again. Try again. And now we're jumping left and right. We're doing the animation. The problem is we're not updating our X position in the end. Okay. So that's a good place to be. I've still got this problem going up and down, and I know I've created more of a problem for myself since we started this whole thing, and we're in a bad state right now. But I've run out of time for this particular episode, and that's okay. Sometimes it takes a little time to be able to figure out what we're doing and getting ourselves into the right state so we can continue to move on. And we're going to need to do all these changes that I've done here in order to support our logs in the end. So I didn't get to the point where we were resetting our position and taking our lives down by 1, but we're getting ourselves to the point where we can do that and we can have the rest of the game. And we'll get to fixing that in the next episode. So yeah, this one was kind of incremental. We didn't get a better game as a result of any gameplay, as a result of what we did in this particular episode, but that's okay. We still made some progress, and in the next one we should have this all cleaned up and ready to go again. Hope you still enjoyed it. Hope you're able to follow along and keep up, and we will see you in the next one. Bye bye.